Kindergarten. One autumn morning, Dolly knocked excitedly on Berry's door. "Come quickly, Berry, or we'll be late." Berry got ready and the two friends held hands and walked to the nursery together. Lots of little children were gathered in the playground. They were all so happy to see each other. There was Balthazar the bee, Flutter the butterfly, Stanley the stag beetle, Eddie the potato beetle, Zephyr the dragonfly, Alfonso the cricket, Leapy the grasshopper, and Bubble the baby beetle. Mrs. Bumblebee patiently guided everybody into their classrooms. The little, middle and top children went into different rooms. Bubble was in the little group. He waved to Berry and Dolly from the doorway. The day started with exercises. After breakfast, the children made beautiful pictures using the leaves they collected in the woods. When everybody had finished, Mrs. Bumblebee gathered the children in a circle. She taught them lots of songs and games. The children all danced around. Then it was playtime. Mrs. Bumblebee sat in a rocking chair and watched the children. Berry and the boys ran straight over to the car box and started playing cars. They built ramps and tunnels. "Can I join in, boys?" Dolly asked. She was holding a broken red car. "Oh no, Dolly, you can't play cars with that old thing," Berry told her. "And anyway, cars are for boys, not girls." That made Dolly cry. "The boys don't want to play with me," she told Flutter. Flutter, Leapy and Zephyr quickly cheered her up. "Come and play with us. We're playing with dolls." The girls dressed their dolls in pretty dresses, fed them and rocked them to sleep. Dolly liked this game a lot. Then Berry got into an argument with Morris the Maybug. "You keep knocking my car over. It's not fair. You're a cheat." "That's not true. You're a cheat," replied Morris. "That's it. I'm not playing with you anymore," Berry said sulkily and left the boys. "Can I join in your game?" Berry asked his friend Dolly. "You can't play with us. It's a girls' game," Dolly sulked. "But I brought this doll with me. It's got curly hair. I want to play with you." "All right. Come and play with us. But now you have to let me play cars with you." "Children, time to wash your hands," Mrs. Bumblebee shouted. "Then go and sit down at the tables." Mrs. Earwig, the dinner lady, dished up their dinner. When everybody had finished eating, Berry and Dolly collected up all the plates and glasses. Then the children had a little lie down while Mrs. Bumblebee read them a story. They all listened in silence, and a few of them fell fast asleep. When they got up, they all had a snack and went out into the playground. It was enormous and filled with all kinds of slides, climbing frames and swings, with a big wooden train in the middle. Berry and Morris quickly made friends again and played on the swings together. Dolly helped Bubble up the slide and caught him at the bottom. Bubble liked that a lot. The rest of the day flew by, and soon the children were waving goodbye to each other. They couldn't wait for tomorrow to come. Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today? The bicycle. One summer day, a pigeon delivered a parcel to Berry and Dolly. It was quite a big parcel and wrapped in pretty red paper and tied with a blue ribbon. Dolly read the note attached. "It's It's from the centipede. Hooray! He's coming to visit us soon, and he sent us this present. To us? Berry asked. What do you mean? To me or you? It says in the letter that it's for us. It's a present for both of us, I suppose. That's silly, Berry argued. I'm sure it's meant to be for me because I was the one who found him in the snow last Christmas. But he stayed at my house. I looked after him and made him tea, Dolly replied. But I read him caterpillar stories from the storybook, Berry added. The red wrapping paper wasn't that strong and it soon tore open. Wheels poked out from underneath. It's a bicycle, Berry exclaimed. It's just perfect for me. No, it's just perfect for me, Dolly insisted. All right, you can have the bicycle if you want it so much. I'll be the bigger person. You're behaving like a silly baby. That upset Berry. That's not fair. I'm going to be the bigger person and you're the silly baby. You can have the bicycle. In the end, neither of them took the bicycle. They walked away and left the half-unwrapped bicycle in the meadow. Not long after that, Balthazar the bee and Flutter the butterfly came by. What do you think it is? Is it a bicycle? Balthazar asked. Yes, it looks like it, Flutter replied. There's a note stuck to it. It's for Berry and Dolly from the centipede. Let's take it to them, Balthazar suggested. They touched the bicycle and the rest of the wrapping paper fell off. This made them laugh. Look, it's a tandem. 2 people can ride it. Let's have a go, Balthazar said. Hello, Berry. Hello, Dolly. We brought you your bike. You left it in the meadow, Flutter shouted. Berry and Dolly came outside. They saw Flutter and Balthazar on the bicycle and felt very silly. Oh, it's a tandem. We can both sit on it. And we had such a fight about it. They made friends again and hugged each other happily. What a super present. We wasted all our time quarrelling and we haven't made anything for the centipede. He could arrive at any minute. Let's make him a colourful windmill. We can use pretty petals, Flutter suggested. Yes, that's a great idea, Berry and Dolly agreed. The 4 friends gathered red, purple, white, yellow and pink petals and made a windmill. Just then, the centipede arrived in a cart pulled by a mouse. The little mouse stopped in the meadow and the centipede climbed out. He gave Berry and Dolly a big hug. I see you got my present. I hope you like it. It's beautiful. We love it, Berry and Dolly said. And we made you this windmill. The centipede stayed with Berry and Dolly for 10 whole days. They went for long rides on their bicycle. They played a lot. They had a very good time, but the happy days passed soon. I have to go home now. I've had such a super time here. Do come and visit us again next summer, Berry and Dolly said, as they waved goodbye to their friend. Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today? Flutter goes skiing. On a winter day, Iris the ice beetle invited all her friends to go skiing. Has everyone got skis? She asked. I haven't, said Berry. And I haven't, Leapy the grasshopper girl joined in. Neither have I, Flutter the butterfly added. Then let's make some skis for you. It isn't hard, Iris said with a smile. The friends all joined in. They sawed and sanded thin planks of wood, fixed foot straps to them, and made poles for everyone. And the skis were finished by lunchtime. They all walked up the hill together. When they got to the top, they strapped on their skis and put on their ski helmets. Then Iris asked, "Does everyone know how to ski? I can teach anyone who doesn't." They all nodded except for Flutter. The little butterfly girl didn't know how to ski, but she didn't say anything. "It can't be all that hard. I'll soon get the hang of it," she thought to herself. She only dared whisper the truth to the green grub. Berry was the first to go. "Whoopee!" he shouted with a broad grin as he sped down the snowy hillside. Dolly came after Berry, and then Balthazar, and then the others. Flutter was the last one to set off. She took a deep breath and pushed herself off. The only problem was she didn't know how to stop. She carried on skiing over the next hill and then the hill after that until she had skied a very long way away from the others. The little butterfly girl only stopped when she fell over into a big pile of snow. It was a while before the others realised that Flutter was missing. "Flutter doesn't know how to ski," the green grub eventually told them. "She can't ski?" they all asked in surprise. "This was her first time. She was very nervous, but she didn't dare to mention it. Oh, I'm frightened that something terrible has happened to her." The friends set off to search for Flutter. Dr. Owl was flying past and he spotted Flutter in the snow below. "Flutter, what happened to you?" he asked. "I couldn't stop and I fell over in the snow. I really hurt myself. I thought I'd never be able to stop. I don't want to ski again," Flutter sobbed. Dr. Owl felt very sorry for the little butterfly girl, so he put her on his back and took her to his house. "I'll bandage you up and then I'll take you to Iris's house. I'm sure the others will be looking for you," Dr. Owl said in a reassuring voice. The little friends frantically searched around, but they couldn't find Flutter anywhere. They walked sadly back to Iris's house. But Flutter was waiting for them when they arrived. They were overjoyed. "Hooray! Are you all right, Flutter? Tell us what happened to you," Dolly told her. Flutter told them the whole story from beginning to end. "So you don't know how to ski?" Iris asked in surprise. "I'll teach you. You'll soon learn how to turn and stop, and you'll be able to ski down even the steepest hills." "Thank you," the butterfly girl said with a smile. Iris started to teach Flutter to ski the very next morning. By the end of the first day, the little butterfly girl could ski down small hills and stop safely at the bottom. "Look! Flutter can ski! This calls for a celebration!" Stanley shouted, and he started to play a tune on the icicles. The others sang and danced around the happy little butterfly. Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today? The board game. It was a lovely spring day and Berry was playing a board game with Flutter. They had to follow a long trail from a mouse to a piece of cheese. "The winner is the first one to reach the cheese," the little butterfly girl explained. Berry started the game. He threw the dice and moved his counter. Then it was Flutter's turn. She threw the dice and moved. "I won!" the little snail boy shouted when his counter reached the piece of cheese. "Okay, you won. Let's play it again." Berry won the second game too. "I won! I'm the winner again!" the little snail boy shouted with pride. "Let's play another game." They started to play the game again. This time, Flutter was the first to reach the piece of cheese. "I I won, Berry. Now I'm the winner, the little butterfly girl announced with a grin. Berry was so upset that he hid under the pine tree, where he threw the dice so that Flutter couldn't see. I threw a 6, but Flutter told him off. That's not fair, Berry. You need to throw the dice where I can see it. No. Throw the dice again, Berry. This time he threw a 2. He got left behind and Flutter won that game. That's not fair. I want to win. That's cheating. But Berry, that's the point of a board game. One player wins and then the other wins. You can't win every time. But I can. I want to win every game, Berry whined, and he was so cross that he threw the board game down on the ground. OK, if that's how you want it, you can play on your own. And she flew away. It'll be better on my own, Berry grumbled. He threw the dice and moved his counter. He threw again and moved his counter. And he won one game after another. But he soon got bored of the game. He tried playing the game with his teddy. But his teddy wasn't a very exciting opponent. Berry eventually set off to look for Flutter again. It was no good on my own, he thought sadly to himself. He found Flutter playing cards with Dolly, Bubble and Balthazar in the meadow. Can I play too? Berry asked shyly. Well, Berry, you can play, but you're not guaranteed to win. And I wouldn't like you to throw the cards down as well. Flutter eventually shouted after Berry. Berry, you can come and play, but only if you promise not to get cross if you don't win. I promise, Berry agreed and ran to join his pals. They sat playing cards until it got dark. Berry won one game, Flutter won another, and Bubble, Balthazar and Dolly all won one too. Berry was so happy to be playing with his friends that he forgot to get angry when he didn't win. Stanley the stag beetle flew by and shouted down to them. Look, I've carved a roasting stick. Come on, let's make a fire and roast apples. They all seemed to like the idea. Eddie the potato beetle joined them. They all helped to build a fire, sliced apples up and put them on sticks and roasted them over the glowing embers. The little gang of friends ate up all the apples they cooked. Berry gave his last piece of apple to Flutter. He really wanted to say something nice to the little butterfly girl, but all he eventually said was, Here, this is for you. When all the apples had gone, the friends pushed their sticks into the fire and drew pictures with them in the dark night sky. Berry and Dolly say, what will we learn today? The Little Bumblebee. Early one morning, Berry, Dolly and Balthazar went out to play in the meadow. They wanted to try out the new parachute the little bee had made. But a little bumblebee was picking lilac flowers and singing a happy song. The winter's gone and it's the spring. Lilac is my favourite thing. Balthazar was the first to greet her.
Hello, little bumblebee. My name's Balthazar. This is Berry the snail and Dolly the ladybird. Who are you?
My name's Betty. I was flying home and I decided to stop and pick lilac flowers in the meadow.
We're on our way to try this new parachute. Do you want to come with us?
Balthazar asked. I'd love to. Balthazar and Betty were the first to jump, and then the other friends tried the colourful parachute. They played until it got dark.
Will you play with us again tomorrow?
Balthazar asked excitedly. I can't. I have to leave early tomorrow morning. My home is far away from here, and I still have a long way to go. So Berry, Dolly and Balthazar said goodbye to Betty. Balthazar looked very upset, so Dolly asked him, "What's wrong?"
Balthazar's got a girlfriend,
Berry laughed. "Don't make fun of him, Berry," Dolly said angrily. "You know what, Balthazar? Ask Betty to stay here. We can build her a house in the woods."
That's a super idea. I'll go to the meadow tomorrow morning and ask her to stay.
Balthazar, Dolly and Berry got up very early the next day. They hurried to the meadow to talk to Betty. But the friends were too late. The little Bumblebee had already left. The only thing they found was a farewell note she'd left for them pinned to a tree. Balthazar sat down on the grass and started to cry. Berry didn't laugh at him this time. "Let's go after her," the little snail said. "I'm sure we can catch her up."
Berry, you're such a slow snail. We'll never catch up with Betty if you don't hurry up.
Berry was going to say something back to Balthazar when a hedgehog stepped out of the bushes. "Perhaps I can help. I'm not too fast, but I'm sure I'm much faster than you three." The friends liked the idea. They built a little cart out of a horse chestnut shell and tied it to the hedgehog's spikes. The hedgehog cart was ready to roll. "Let's rest a little while," Dolly suggested when it got dark. "We'll carry on tomorrow morning." Balthazar started to cry again.
We'll never find her.
"I can smell something sweet. It's lilac blossom." "Lilac?" Dolly wondered. "But there aren't any lilac bushes around here. Let's look around."
Would you like to come back and live with us? We could build you a little bumblebee house in a tree. You wouldn't have to fly back to your faraway home. We'd be so happy if you lived with us.
"That's a super idea. We'd all be very happy." Berry and Dolly nodded. "Thank you. I'd love to come and live with you," Betty replied. She was happy. "You came all this way to find me. That's so nice of you." They all jumped into the hedgehog cart and trundled back to the meadow. They started to build the house the very next morning. They built Betty a pretty treehouse near the lilac field. When the bumblebee's house was ready, they had a big party. All the forest friends were invited. They danced and ate late into the night and made their new neighbour very welcome indeed.